The 2023 Tour de France route has been revealed and will be covering 5 of France's biggest mountain ranges, including 8 mountain stages and 4 summit finishes. Yikes! This route will rack up to 22 kilometers against the clock, which is the lightest time trailing in the history of the Tour. As expected, there have been a bunch of different thoughts and opinions on the matter. Keep watching as we cover more on the details of the 2023 Tour de France. First up, Tour will celebrate its 120th anniversary in Bilbao, Spain. The scenery and the roads of the Grand Depart in the Basque Country are a perfect spot for the Tour to pay tribute to the pioneers in 1903. The cyclists will be plunged into a Pyrenean sequence with several twists and turns on both the French and the Spanish sides of the border. The start of the Tour that will be held in the southern climbs generally means there's going to be a dense program, but this time there's a total of 30 Category 2 climbs and above because of the mountainous Grand Slam that they want the competitors to tackle this year. They're going to be visiting each of France's 5 mountain ranges. Not to mention, it's going to start off with some pretty demanding climbs. There's the opening loop around Bilbao, Spain, with a lot more climbing than you usually get on the first day of the Tour. This first stage will end with 2 final springboards with gradients of up to 15%. At 209 kilometers, stage 2 will be the longest of the race and will start off from Vitoria-Gasteiz, ending in San Sebastian. The third and final day in Spain will hold stage 3 of the race, setting off along the coast of Amorebieta and ending in Bayonne, France. Stage 4 will give sprinters another day, this time between Dax and Nogaro. Stage 5 will tackle the Pyrenees, work its way up to Col de Soudet and Col de Marie Blanc, before descending into the valley for a smooth finish in La Runes. Stage 6 kicks off with another day in Tarbes and heads off towards 2 of the most commonly used climbs in the Tour, the Col de Aspen and the Tourmalet, before finishing in Carré-Cambasque. Also, the riders will head north for Stage 7 and onwards. Here, the sprinters will have their ending in Bordeaux, before Stage 8 brings the race to Le Borgne and then eastwards for some more sprints in Limoges. Stage 9 includes a summit finish spectacular at the Puy de Dôme. The roads of this area will be open to the cyclists only, not the fans, and this is something that's happening around 35 years after the last ascent to overlook Clermont-Ferrand. This promises an extremely tense battle between the competitors from the very beginning of the Tour, and rest day in Clermont-Ferrand will be followed by Stage 10, which will take riders from Vulcania to Issoire. Then it's back to Clermont-Ferrand for Stage 11, another day for the sprinters. It's also going to be interspersed with 3 minor climbs right before a bunch sprint in Molène. Stage 12 will bring with it another hilly day where the bikers will have to take on the Col de la Montmain and the Col de la Croix-Rosier before they can finish in Belleville in Beaujolais. The emerging winner will have their pride in place just in time for Bastille Day, with the battle being held high on the Grand Colombier, which is where the finishing line is going to be set up for the second time in the history of the Tour. Moving on, the 14th, 15th, and 16th stages will make and break the hierarchy. Stage 14 will have us heading to the Alps with over 4,200 meters of altitude gain on the 4 major climbs for the day: the Col des Cours and the Col des Feux, the Col de la Ramaz and the Col des Joplin. The riders will then go for a downhill finish into Morzine for Stage 14. Stage 15 will take the competitors on another 4,300 meters of climbing up from Le Bedex with 3 major climbs before they can finish on Saint-Gervais-Mont-Blanc. Following the second rest of the day, we will have the sole 22-kilometer time trial for the 2023 Tour. From Passy, the roads will head uphill to the Côte des Soldats, followed by the climb of Côte des Domoncy. That's not it. The riders will have to continue uphill before finally finishing in Combloux. After conquering the summit of Jura, the big shots are going to fight for the title on the Col de la Loze. They will then proceed onto the high-altitude airstrip in Courchevel for Stage 17. They will set off from Saint-Gervais-Mont-Blanc, hit the Col de Cézy, Cormet de Roselin, the Côte de Langefoy, and the Côte de la Loze. Stage 18 goes through the valley of Montier, past rivers and lakes, to Bourges and Bresse, a scenic respite from the strenuous journey so far. After passing through Stage 19 of sprinting in Morin-Montagne, the sprinters will finish in Poligny, and the race will continue up north to Paris. The next step is from Belfort to Le Marquestein, marking the final day before the processional stage into Paris. The riders will start off by tackling Ballon d'Alsace before moving into 4 categorized climbs, which will provide the riders with one final chance to disrupt the general classification. The winner, designated in Alsace, will be honored with the yellow jersey the next day on the Champs-Élysées, which is where the race will finally close with a sprint festival. This festival will also be celebrated in Bordeaux, Limoges, Moly, and Poligny, so that victories in all the classifications can be enjoyed thoroughly. Up next, the mountain block is naturally going to make for a brutal 2023 tour. Tour de France director Prudhomme said that they had wanted to make the most out of the mountain ranges in the country, and starting off from the Basque Country made that possible. There's only 22 kilometers of time trialing in 2023's tour, which has many feeling like the pure climbers have a bit of an advantage. Particularly in the first and third weeks, there's going to be a ton of climbing, but the sprinters will have their time to shine as well. Apart from the traditional sprint finish on the Champs-Élysées, there will be stages ending in Bordeaux, Pouligny, and Nogaro. Also, many people weren't happy about the lack of time trialing in the 2023 tour route, but others like Prudhomme have come to the defense of the decided route. Prudhomme has argued that current trends in cycling have made the discipline a threat to the overall excitement and thrill of the race. Most recently, he said that the time travels have the tendency to paralyze the race, and that he prefers to see the champions shoulder to shoulder from the first weekend. Prudhomme justified his statements with the fact that almost all the world's leading riders today are all-rounders. Here's more on what he had to say. "When I was little, we used to have a duality between climbers and time trialists, an opposition of styles." He talked about how cyclists like Jacques Anquetil, who was a great rouleur but couldn't perform well in the mountains. He also mentioned Federico Belmontes, who was great on the slopes but didn't do so great when put against the clock. Prudhomme emphasized that's what made the time travels necessary. The styles would be balanced out. Today, riders can win almost anywhere. With less time trialing, there can be more climbing. The 2023 Tour's route is proof of that. With more time trials, there wouldn't have been any room for the 30 categorized ascents that are currently on the menu for next year. In related news, the second edition of the new version of the Women's Tour de France will begin right after the men's race. The women's race is to be held across 8 stages, but this time it's going to take on a whole new area of France. It will begin on July 23 in the city of Clermont-Ferrand and will take on the Peloton South into the Pyrenees and end with a mountaintop finish on the Col de Tourmalet on stage 7, then an individual time trial for stage 8 in Pau. The Women's Tour de France ended back in 1989. Even though the ASO continued to organize single-day races for the ladies, the Peloton was not included in an official Tour de France for the past 3 decades. In 2014, La Course was created and followed up by a petition to ASO calling for a female's version of the event. The petition secured 97,307 signatures, and the event was finally held across several platforms from a single day to a multiple-day event between 2014 and 2021. La Course received a ton of backlash, but quickly became one of the most popular events in the Women's World Tour. Eventually, it became the stepping stone to the Tour de France Femmes avec Swift. Prudhomme's long-awaited announcement for the confirmation of the event came in 2022. The first edition of the rebirth of the event included an 8-day race that took place with the concluding stage of the Men's Tour de France. The second edition is all set for July 23, 2023. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. What do you think about the route for the 2023's Tour de France? Do you think it gives climbers an unfair advantage? Or do you agree with Mr. Prudhomme? Let us know all your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share, and hit the subscribe button for more content just like this.